when we talk about the ownership of the product, we're now required as BAs to step up from where we were about a few years ago. We need to deliver much more than what we were doing about 2-3 decades. So what we are now expecting to do is to actually do a lot more about the specifics in terms of the user experience, in terms of the personas, in terms of user profiles, the screeners, doing user studies. So this is again falling in the realm of the business analyst. Of course, they could potentially, in my previous couple of roles, I did all of these myself as an analyst, but previously I used to actually work with a user experience team. Even there is a specialist term called user experience team or a user experience design team right now in most of the companies. So these people potentially have got more handle on the pulse of users and the experience that you could deliver. So you could potentially work with them and then be able to work on and deliver these artifacts, as what we call. And then we also tend to work more on the prototypes. There are different types of prototypes again, starting from, for example, you've got what we call as low fidelity prototypes, basically something like a throwaway wireframes, a quick piece of work that you do to establish something, to actually prove a technology, whether it's working or not. So that could be a low fidelity prototype. You just quickly do something and then chuck it out and then build on the top of it. So for example, your paper prototyping, for example, this is an example of low fidelity. Then you've got medium fidelity prototype, which is about, you can potentially reuse whatever you could build and build on the top of it. So for example, some of the HTML5 and CSS work that we typically use to demonstrate the concept to the clients. So you don't have to throw it away, you can build on the top of it. And then you've got a high fidelity prototype, which is basically perhaps some kind of coding is already involved in that, and you don't have to really throw it over. You can actually kind of change it, reuse it, and add more value to it to get to the final actual product. So there are different types of prototypes, and also we can talk a little later in the coming sessions about the prototyping. There are a lot of things about the technology prototypes called POCs, proof of competence or proof of capability. You would like to also show demo kind of a thing. So there are different types of these prototypes. And again, BA nowadays is expected to be able to work alongside the teams to be delivering these, even though they are not responsible for owning the prototypes as such. And then we also are looking at the user stories. I mean, these have come a really long way in the Agile context. Even though it is actually not, it's a technique by itself, but it is attributed to some of the more upcoming Agile methods like Scrum or Safe. But it pretty much neatly fits into every kind of Agile method, whether you're doing Lean, Kanban, or Scrum, or anything like that. User stories is a fantastic tool and technique that you could put in, and very, very nimble, very simple to do, and you should be able to actually adapt to it really quickly. So user stories, epics, themes, and all these things, again, we'll have a look at them in greater detail in the coming sessions. But it's definitely an important asset that you must have as a BA, and you're expected to be able to write up the stories and to actually kind of groom the backlogs and things like that. And then again, the acceptance test cases, or what we call as gherkin statements. So if a user story was about, like, for example, as a user, I would like to do this so that I get this benefit. So that's a simple construct of a user story. But then with respect to the, within that story itself, you can actually try and add more value. You can refine that. You can try and bring in more clarity for the development team by adding what we call as the scenarios of usage. So you talk about given this happens, or given this situation, when the user does this, then the system or the application should behave this way. So it's the given, when, then, also called as gherkin statements, or you have something called as cucumber, and these kind of tools actually use those. So it's again very expected of you to, as a BA, to be able to work on these test cases